Yeah. There's a lot going on, man. You could sit wherever you want. The dance recital? Yeah, we'll try to finish a little bit early. Because it's at 7, right? Oh. Already tried it. It's, yeah. Okay, then maybe we should start. All right, let's start. Do you wanna? Can you guys see the screen? I know this one specific is a little bit darker. The other one should be a little bit different. Yeah, thank you. So hello everybody. My name is Yaritza Carrasco. I'm a therapist by trade. I work at the Lofted 8 Corners, which is a collaboration between NAMI West Suburban and Pillars Community Health. I also did work here at RB for quite some time, but everybody calls me Yadi, so feel free to call me Yadi as well. So today we're going to be talking about resilience. So stronger than you think, right? And I put out this quote because I think it relates a lot to what we think of resilience and what resilience is. Your worth is not measured by your productivity, your grades, or your popularity. You are worth because you exist, right? And this is kind of guided, like, you know, I also did present this to the youth that attend RB a couple months ago, but I wanted to keep the same quote, right? Because I feel like today, it's such an expectation of like, you have to do this and you have to be this and this and this. And sometimes they can relate that to their worth and it doesn't necessarily correlate with each other. So what is resilience? So resilience is a lot of things, right? But just the big picture of resilience is how you get better after an event that causes turbulence happens. Like how back do you get back on your feet? And how well and stable you are afterwards, right? And I feel like a lot of people, when they think of resilience, they think of like, oh, this person went through this really big hardship and they went through all these big things. That's true. And also resilience is all the little things that you get up with, right? Like you stumbled on your way up the stairs, you know, you burned your tongue with coffee. Like those little things still build resilience. And I think when we focus on like, it has to be this big thing for me to be considered resilient and strong, it's like, well, you get there with the little steps, right? Like you don't just get up one day and be like, I'm gonna lift that rock. We're like, yeah, but it took some planning, right? So a little bit about resilience, right? It's about social support. Do we have the people around us to cheer us on, to listen to us, to care for us, to provide safety for us, right? Personality. Some people, they can get up really fast and like, let's keep going. And some people need a little bit of a longer break or more support, and that's okay too. Adversity, like how many opportunities have you had to fall, right? Like also some people don't, you know. Positive adaptation. When I fall, do I think it's over with, I'm done? Or it's like, well, I tripped. I don't have to start all over again. Like what is my mindset? Life experiences, right? And when I think about life experiences, everybody's like, oh, you have to live it. No, life experiences are also what we see other people going through, the stories that our parents, our guardians, our grandparents have told us. We can build resilience through learning from other people's experiences. And that all entails resilience. Like it's not just you, it's like your community around you and your natural supports. Why resilient matters. So we all know resilience is important, but have we ever sat down and been like, well, why do we want to be resilient? You know, it helps stress and anxiety, right? We need to learn how to manage it. Stress and anxiety, it's not like I have it or I don't. No, we all have it. It's just like, how do you get back from it? How do you deal with it? How do you process it, right? Builds confidence and problem solving skills, right? And all of our children are different, right? It doesn't have to take somebody who's had children, or you can be literally work with children, be an aunt, an uncle, a caregiver, having seen our kids as friends, you know, right? Like, it's like, how do they problem solve, right? Like I have a friend who says that she knew right away that her kid was gonna be an engineer. He's in school to be an engineer. I was like, well, yeah, I knew that he was gonna be in engineering. He like would break things up and put them apart at 2. And I was like, well, yeah, right? The resilience of knowledge and the curiosity versus other kids need a little bit more support. But that doesn't mean that they can't be resilient or can't be successful. It just means that they might need supports in other areas, you know? Support their mental health, right? And I think this is something that a lot of people kind of are scared to talk about. Like, well, it doesn't apply to us. Yeah, I'll support the kid next door. Yeah, all for the kids, you know? But it's like, what about our kids? Or our kids are like open about it, and my friend went through this, but it's like, are they able to say, I'm struggling? Or do they recognize the signs of them struggling with their mental health, right? I like to look at mental health as a spectrum. It's not you have it or you don't. It's like, where are you, right? We all experience, sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's hard, right? So just thinking about it in that process, strengthening relationships and teamwork, right? Talking back to the slide before, having the community helps you trust the person, right? If that one time that you went to them, they were supportive. Being supportive doesn't necessarily mean you have all the answers. It means that you were there, you were a listening ear, you provided support. Maybe you did know the answer, maybe you didn't. Maybe you went like, let's go together to this person or that person to get that support. What are some common stresses for teens? Obviously there's a billion, right? And there's things that I haven't even thought of that our kids are going through. But what I've noticed the most, and my experiences with helping youth over 10 years of working direct services with youth, academic pressures. And sometimes we're not even doing it on purpose. We're subconsciously doing like, straight A's get degrees. I was like, yes, they do, but also C's, right? And also a kid that might have not been the best in elementary or high school could go into college and find something they're completely passionately in love with and have the best grades, right? Or they're bad at test taking, or you know, whatever factors they may have. But that's a lot of stress, even if it comes from families that are not like do like have straight A's. Sometimes there's kids that they have families that it's like, do your best, but they put that pressure on themselves because of what they see and what they hear around them, right? Family conflict. It doesn't necessarily have to be like, my parents are going through a divorce, you know, that is also a thing that matters, right? But it could be like, if our families don't know how to handle things healthily, and there's constant conflict, or we feel like we're walking on eggshells, that affects the kids. And it's like, well, they don't know. Well, yeah, they do. They know a lot, right? Or even things that we do not know that we're unconsciously doing, right? Like, oh, dad is stressed, so we have to be this way. Or mom is stressed. I don't want to stress my parent out or my guardian out. I often hear my teens tell me like, oh, don't tell my parents I'm struggling with this. I'm like, why not? They're like, I don't want to stress them out. You're going to stress them out when you need more support. And they're like, what happened? So let's stress them out now. We can help them together. They're like, okay, right? Social media is a big stress. And I cannot pinpoint enough how to educate our parents on social media. It's not just about like what you have on social media, it's what access you have in social media. Learning about not only like safety when it comes to social media, but what is being said on the social media, what is not being said, who's posting, who's not. I know we're not talking about bullying today, but like with the bullying in the social media is a big thing. And it doesn't stop when you're like, you know, back then it was like, well, you're out of school, let's go, you know, but now it just follows you everywhere and you have access to it. Or it doesn't necessarily have to be bullying. It could be like your teen looking up things, right? And then they have all of these streams, right? And they can manipulate the streams to whatever they want. So they're not seeing the whole picture. They're just seeing this influencer do this 3 things and they have this perfect body and the picture's edited. Right? Like, so, and that's stressful. Or like, something we often talk about is like FOMO, fear of missing out. Like everybody's posting on their stories, everybody this, even just something as simple as Elf on the Shelf, everybody's like, the picture. I'm like, but yeah, the picture, but like, what about the background? You can't see the whole picture. And that stresses us a lot. Have we felt that way even on social media? We're like, oh, so went on vacation again? Oh, what are we doing wrong, you know? And imagine our teens, right? Where they don't have the full story of things and they're not understanding, right? They understand certain things, but certain things you learn with like, this is the process. And the process being cut out, it's like demanding now, here, there. And it's like, you want reward now. And that could be stressful, right? Self-doubt and identity, relationships, right? And it's not just love relationships, which are really complicated according to the teens. They've gotten way messier than when I was a teen, for sure, right? Like, and the friendships, right? Like, it's not like, oh, you know, we're going to the library and hanging out. It's like this whole other thing. And managing relationships, managing social media, managing school, all of this plays into part. And sometimes all we see as guardians, as parents, is like, they're locked in their room again. What do I do? How do I get them to talk to me? You're like, I don't know how to open up. And like, this kid is living a whole life that you have no access to. And it's not necessarily your fault. It's a lot of things in combination, right? So that's a little bit of the stress, right? Like, we could feel it, like just talking about it, like, oh, maybe they are going through some stuff, right? Key aspects of resilience, adaptability, right? How do we learn to be adaptable? We practice, right? And that's the hard part, where it's like, well, how do I teach? Well, you practice. Changing routines, being in different scenarios, putting them in places where they need to speak up, in places where they fit in, places where they don't fit in. How are kids going to learn how to have a formal conversation with somebody if they don't practice, right? And something we often see at the loft is like, I want my kid to work on social skills. They don't know how to have a conversation. I'm like, this is the perfect place to practice. Why? Because I'm gonna force you to talk. You know, like, what do you mean? Well, what do you like? Let's have a back and forth relationship. I don't know how to have a back and forth conversation. Well, let's practice. I don't know what to say. Well, say it and I'll correct you if you're wrong. If you're good, we'll keep going. You know, it's like practicing, because everything is on a phone, on an email. It's so easy to like text like that and abbreviations and stuff. How do you have a conversation? How do you get to that deep, meaningful conversation? You practice, right? Bouncing back. And that is, it could be taught and seen from our guardians or the adults in our family. How fast do you bounce back? Do you take care of yourself after something happened and you needed to bounce back? What are they seeing? Because like, remember, like I mentioned, it's not just about lived experience, it's about what they see, right? Like, oh, if they always see that after a rough day, my mom goes on a run, oh, maybe I should go on a run, right? If after a rough day, I scream at everybody, maybe I should scream at everybody. But I don't think that's exactly how they think. They're not saying like, I'm gonna actively scream at, you know, it just happens because these are the things that we're learning subconsciously and just doing. Learned behaviors, right? This is what we do, you know, and it's always like really hard when parents are like, how do I teach them? I'm like, you gotta do it. You want them to do the thing? You gotta do it. You want them to work hard on something? Choose a project and work hard at it. You want them to have hobbies and interests? You have to have hobbies and interests. You don't want them to be scared to do things? You gotta tell them it's okay to be scared and do it anyway, right? Emotional distress is normal. It happens to all of us because everybody has a tolerance that's different. You know, like, and just because you have a different tolerance doesn't mean you can't work on it and make your tolerance have more space to deal with things. You know, I feel like a lot of people have tolerance like this, and that's why anytime anything happens, it's like a big reaction. We gotta open up the tolerance. How do we open up the tolerance? Coping skills. Well, what are coping skills? Anything you do to feel better that's positive for you. If calling up your friend makes you feel better, do it. If drinking a cup of coffee by yourself at 5 in the morning is your thing, then do it. Is knitting or crocheting a thing? Do it, right? Like there's no right way to do the coping skill. The coping skill is supposed to be for you, not for a therapist to check a box, right? And growth and strength, right? If we want to grow in strength, we have to pay attention to it. We want to grow our hair. What do? We take the vitamin, we put the oils, we do the shampoo, we take care of it. Okay, same thing with our mental health. We want it to get better. Oh, you move your body, you drink your water, you look at therapists, you look at coping skills online, you know? Like you talk to somebody that's been through therapy, see how you feel about it. And that's how well you grow it too, you nurture it, right? So strategies for building resilience, building a support system. It is so important to have a support system. We have to have a support system so that the kids will be like, well, how do I make one? Well, this is how I did it. Let's see if it works for you, right? And this is a hard one, right? Because they're at the age where they're testing boundaries with everything. And it's like, how do I know this person is trustworthy? How do I know if I can go to them? How can I rely to them? Trial and error. You're not gonna know if that person is trustworthy until something is shared and you trust them and they're there, right? There are some support systems that are already engraved, right? Guardians and parents, siblings, hopefully aunts and uncles. You know, the school is a good support system, right? You already have built-in systems for those support systems, but now how do you help your child like develop their own, right? Like which ones are the friends that are trustworthy? How do I determine if that friend is trustworthy? It's not all like my parents said they didn't get a good vibe from me, but why? Right? Or, you know, like, oh, what are the qualities that I want on a friend? How do I want them to react? And am I a good friend? Do I have the qualities that I expect others to do, right? Develop coping skills. We talked a little bit about them. Every time I'm like, coping skills, they don't work. Which ones have you tried? All of them. That's nonsense. There's no way. And guess what? If you did, let's try them again. You might have changed, right? Like, a lot of I use this analogy all the time because I think it's hilarious. In grad school, everybody's like meditation and yoga, and I was like, yeah, I don't do that. But then I developed something that was meditative for me. It had the same thing. So I have this tradition of I wake up at 5 in the morning when everybody's asleep, and I brew my coffee, and I make my espresso, whatever I want, whatever flavor, whatever style. Why is that meditative? I'm using my 5 senses. I'm smelling, I'm tasting, I'm seeing, I'm touching the hot or cold, whatever I decide today, right? I'm hearing the, right? Being mindful, and in that place, that just made it mindfulness, right? We don't have to go above and beyond and buy the right journal that's the right color. Like, you could, you don't have to. Journaling also works on a sticky note, on a phone where you're texting with your thoughts. You know, it's like what already is working for you, keep doing it. That's a coping skill that's gotten you here so far, right? As long as it's a positive one, right? And then seeking professional help when needed. It is okay to ask for help. And if you're scared, that's okay. Most of us are. I think it takes 7 touch bases to ask for help before you actually commit to going for help. And that's not the other part of like finding the right therapist. That's another story, right? But it's like 7 tries. And the try could look like, I'll ask my friend about her therapist. Or I called and I hung up. I made an appointment, I didn't show up. I got the referral from the doctor. I Googled psychology today, right? Like all those things. They're touch bases. But every time you learn something better, every time you learn something new and have the courage to go in and ask, it's very hard to go in to a stranger's office and say like, this is what I think is wrong, right? And admit everything. And that's a scary thing. If it was easy, more people would go to therapy. But it's a hard thing. But you're doing it for you or for the person you care for or providing the support when needed, right? Practice self-care. Self-care looks like whatever makes you feel cared for. If going out and getting a facial is the thing that makes you feel good, then go ahead and do it. If taking those 5 minutes to do that DIY hair mask oil, then do it, right? Self-care it's for you. What makes you feel refreshed, valued, and cared for, right? And sometimes we don't know, and that's okay. So we gotta try stuff. And there's nothing wrong with Googling, how do I take care of myself? I've done it. Like, how do I take care of this? Then you create those routines and you implement them and you're like, hey, this does help. That lady wasn't lying. You know? Embrace the growth mindset. When we're focused on everything that's going wrong, guess what we're gonna find? Everything that's going wrong. But have we ever thought of changing our mindset to where we grew? The little steps? I always like to make the analogy of the growth mindset of when your child was learning how to walk and they fell, where you're like, don't even try anymore. Just stop, just stay there. No, right? We're like, come on, you could do it. We tried, we bought the little pulley thing, we hurt our backs holding them. We tried and we supported. So that's what we need to do for ourselves. If at first you did the thing that you thought, okay, I'm gonna take care of myself and I'm gonna learn how to make a pie, and it was horrible, it burnt, it smelled, you're not gonna be like, I give up. You do another one. Or you learn you can't do pies. And you learn you can go to Jewel and get them. And that is self-care too, right? So doing by example, doing the self-care. Verbalize, I'm taking care of myself. Maybe you all should too, right? I'm drinking water. Have you drink water today, right? I need 5 minutes. Maybe you need 5 minutes. What is resilient not? Right? We talked about what it is, how we take care of it. What is not? It's not a fixable trait. People are not either inherited resilient or not. It's something that you can build in nature. It's not like they were just not born resilient. What do you mean? You built this up. You know, like you work at it. It's a muscle, right? Painless experience. This one's a hard one. Because as parents, we don't want our kids to ever get hurt. So like, that messed up, let me fix it. Oh, the friend is not talking to you, she wasn't good anyway. You know, like we have these things to try to help and fix, but sometimes they need to feel the pain. Sometimes they need to experience natural consequences. Sometimes it's the natural consequences plus the parental consequences, right? Your kid is heartbroken because they got broken up with. Yup, it hurts, let's cry. Let's eat the ice cream. That's how you can support them, right? You know? Vulnerability versus weakness. Being vulnerable does not equal weakness. We are all vulnerable, but that doesn't mean we are all weak, right? And what we think is weak doesn't necessarily mean that they're weak, right? We're the hardest and the harshest with ourselves because we can hear all of our inner thoughts. Nobody else can hear all your inner thoughts. That's why we're so hard on ourselves, because we're like, I think that way, or I thought this, or I did this, but the whole world doesn't know that. And sometimes something that you think is really bad has a solution or is fixable by speaking up. Same thing with our kids. They are the strongest critics to themselves. So we have to be that little cheerleader in the back, like, you got this. Or that, I don't know how to fix this, but we'll figure it out, you know? Like, we need to do that for them until they can do that naturally. I always tell the kids that I work with, I'm like, my goal in life is to drill things in your head so much that when you're about to make that wrong decision, you hear Ms. Yadi saying, are you supposed to do that? You know, it's worked so far. I've had some kids come back and be like, you were in my head. I'm like, yes. I did my job, right? You know, that like conscious thing, like, you know, just because you're struggling doesn't mean you're falling, right? Sometimes we feel so out of control that we feel that there's no way out. Well, I've hit rock bottom. Guess what? There's only one way out of rock bottom, and it's up, right? But you don't think like that naturally. So you need the people to help and support. Now I'm falling. Well, look down. Is it far? Have you ever seen those videos of like people in the ocean and the waves just like got them all over, tussled up, and the lifeguard's like, stand up. And then they're like, oh, yeah. That's how life is sometimes. We need the person to be like, stand up. You got this. What's one thing to do that helps recharge? So there's a lot of things. These are just some that I came up with. First, I want to read my little quote that I put there, just because I think it's so relatable, right? You wouldn't let this happen to your phone. Don't let it happen to you either. Self-care is priority, not a luxury. Taking care of yourself is important. And I always tell my guardians and my parents, if you are not taken care of, who's gonna take care of the kiddos? And sometimes that's enough motivator to get them rolling. You know, sometimes on your hardest day, you're like, I gotta do it for these kids, they need to eat. You know, like, I guess I'm making sandwiches, you know, those things. But we need to recharge. And not just to like close and get up, no. Actually fully recharge in whatever way you feel is good, mentally, physically, spiritually. What helps you recharge? And let's do it. So talking to friends you trust, activities and groups that you like. This is an activity or a group that might be helpful, right? Like learning about things, getting together with people that have similar experiences. You all have teen kids. That's something in common, right? Ask for help when you need it. Sometimes the help could be like, can you wash the dishes for me? I literally cannot do that today. Or sometimes it's like, I need to make this appointment. job, can you let me out a little bit early? Or can I flex my time? You know, talking and letting it out to somebody, right? Take breaks from screens and social media. I know that's hard. That one's hard for me. Because I'm like, I like the doom scroll. It's good. It makes me feel good. Yeah, but then it's half an hour, you haven't done anything. But then you feel bad about not doing anything because you know, and the thoughts, they just climb. So setting that limit, because sometimes it's too much. The social media is too much. Everything that's going on right now in the world is like, I can't put it away. Like, I want to be like back in the day when they're like, I didn't know until tomorrow when I got to school and figured everything out, right? Like, you know, but sometimes we can't. So what do we choose to disconnect from, right? Take breaks from, oh wait, I read that one. Do things you enjoy. Even if it's hard to plan it. I know that one could be hard because it's like, I have 100 billion things. I don't have time to go to the movies. Guess what? You're either gonna make time or something's gonna force you to make time. You don't want to get to the point that you're burnt out in the hospital thinking it's a heart attack when actually it was a panic attack. When you're so tired, you're like, knock out. It's like, what's wrong? I don't feel good. Oh, my health is not good. Why? Because you haven't been taking care of yourself, right? Same thing with our kids. You need to take care of yourself. But they got to see it from us. And practice mindfulness. Mindfulness means being here and now in the present moment. Whether that be eating a big bowl of ice cream with sprinkles and chocolate, or getting my nails done, or getting a massage, whatever you are, but you are mindful. There's something called mindful eating, where you sit there and just like process, like, what am I tasting? What am I? And at first you're gonna feel weird. You're gonna be like, why am I doing this? Because it works. Just keep doing it until it doesn't feel weird, right? Mindfulness, you know. Oh, I like doing my makeup. I like working on my car. I like whatever you like, but you're present here in the moment. You don't have 50 screens on, one thing at a time. And that's really hard to do. Because we live in a culture where it's like, if you're not doing 10 things at a time, what are you doing? So one thing at a time, something you like, something you care about, right? If you cannot fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. Do whatever you do, you have to keep moving. Step by step. Remember again when our kiddos were walking? We did not expect them to run. We all wanted them to run. So you'd be like, Daddy, Mama, you know? But they did it little by little and they felt a lot. They crawled backwards. They did this weird thing when their booty was up and they were like, what am I doing? You know? They did all these kinds of things. But you were not judging them. You were encouraging them. So think about it that way too. If I'm going to be taking care of myself and I'm going to be teaching my kiddos to be resilient, I'm going to do it non-judgmental. And I'm going to try to be as supportive as possible, right? Maybe having a conversation with a little, how do you recharge? Well, I don't know. Well, let's figure it out, right? Little things, baby steps work. And before you know it, it really does happen like that. You already have a routine. Like, we don't have to start from zero. I'm pretty sure you guys already do things that help you get through the day. You might just have to tweak it or do more of it. Any questions?
Is the loft also for parents?
That's a great question. So the loft is a place for teens, 12 years old, 7th grade, all the way to the end of high school. However, we do have nights for our parents. We have 2 nights a month. We have a virtual support program that is done by our family support specialists. One is in-house, like parents come together and talk to each other, and one is virtual. Those are the first and the second Thursdays of the month. And quarterly, we have a parent education night where we have a topic, whether our kids brought it up, whether we noticed it, whether the community, and we have these conversations. And anytime you need support, the loft is actually there. So because the loft is a collaboration between Pillars Community Health and NAMI West Suburban, we do have access to like the NAMI stuff. And NAMI stuff is for adults. So they can always refer you out.
Yeah, I'm sorry. No, and I mean like as, you know, like parenting support. So obviously.
Yes, we do have parenting support, yeah. And the cool thing in the parenting support is that the person that runs it has lived experience being a parent with a child that's struggling with mental illness. And they can share their lived experience with you guys. And then you'll have other parents, depending, I can't promise how many parents or how old their kids are, but you have the support, right? Like you have other parents struggling with the same thing, whether it be first-time hospitalization or my kid is, I think there's something off, or I need support with this life event happened. So we do provide support for parents. And if you want, Trina, who is our family support person, she's also able to do one-on-one parent coaching for specific topics. We are having an event next Friday on the 12th. It's Cocoa Canvases. So we're gonna have a paint and sip for the family to come in, and we're gonna be having hot chocolate. So like an opportunity to bond with your kiddos.
That sounds great.
Any other questions? None?
If there's no other questions, you guys can grab some resources over here that Pillars brought. Thank you everyone for coming. Thanks everyone online
Yes,
for
thank you.
coming. And thank you, Yuritsa, for
Thank you.
presenting. Yeah, but grab some resources, grab a pen and chapstick if you haven't. And if you want to stick around, there's a dance concert at 7. So I saw the preview yesterday and it was really good.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Thanks everyone.
You're welcome.
Okay, Jenny, so be here for a few minutes. If you guys have any
Yeah, if you have any
questions
specific questions, I'll be
or
here.
details, please, you know. I mean, okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate
Thank you.
Thank you for coming,
Yeah,
okay?
thank you. You have? Oh, that's
No, they're
nice.
very helpful.
Yes. We try. I'm like, tell us what you welcome. Like, what do you want to know? I'll do a presentation.